Hello everyone. I hope you have been enjoying this series of interviews. And today we're going to talk with the Montello Foundation's founder, Stefan Hagen. So, what is the Montello Foundation? The Montello Foundation Retreat is nestled in its serene natural surroundings, located on 80 acres in undeveloped valley near Montello in the northeastern corner of Nevada. And it offers a haven for artists seeking respite and inspiration. So it serves as a sanctuary for artists from various disciplines, providing them with the time and space to cultivate their craft and connect with the environment. So, as an oasis for creativity, the Montello Foundation Retreat empowers artists to explore the creative depths and embark on transformative journeys. It's a place where artists can immerse themselves in their work, unburdened by the distractions of daily life. So, normally the retreat lasts 2 weeks and you are really in the middle of nature. You have no cell phone connection. Stephen is going to guide you in the beginning with all the materials and all you need, and at the end with a report of your work. And these reports can be found on the Montello's website, so you can see what artists have been doing during their residency and who has been in the residency. So during the interview, Stefan is going to give us his insights into the work of the foundation and the work that artists have been doing there, and also some advices to your application process and all the behinds of choosing the artists that have been there. So I hope you get as much as I did from this interview. So let's dive in. Hello. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Can you just start to talk a bit about the foundation, Montello Foundation's mission, and how it has supported artists that work in the realm of eco art?
So, hello. Montello Foundation is basically dedicated to help foster artists who bring our attention, and this is the general public attention, to the fragility of nature, and in consequently then how we protect it and don't further destroy it. And so the whole idea came out of several observations, but I mean, in terms of the art world, as you start that, it was that in the 90s and early 2000s, I saw where a lot of galleries in New York and exhibitions too, but mostly galleries, which are always much more at the forefront of what's happening, were showing eco art in a way. But then there was some other trends, I guess, as that's called. And then, they were out of the galleries. And basically, I mean, the art world has shifted to a way where the trends are very fast paced, which is interesting for the collectors and the audience in general, but of course problematic for the artists, as they're not going to shift their mission and their work constantly just to be. So that was something where I thought this is necessary also to foster that, to help these artists in a way.
So what does the retreat residency do for artists in specific? Can you talk a bit about the infrastructure?
Yeah, the infrastructure. So it is a solitary retreat in a very remote valley. And it's basically, I always say, it's like the closest people are going to be the ones in the airplane going from New York to San Francisco. So you're really alone there with nature. And also you don't have cell phone reception.
That's great.
You have a beautiful 40 square meter studio. So that is, northern light, plenty of walls, and you have the nature around. And most artists basically are in the situation where they have to live in cities, either because they're teaching or other infrastructure. And so it's very important to give them a possibility to also reconnect with nature. So in that sense, I have the annual reports always, and it's a little bit more filtered, but then I also get the private emails, and they're just, especially the observations about coming back to their city life, and it's like, all these people, all these noises, all these things. And the retreat is basically there to not so much to get work done, but to refocus and reorientate your senses a little bit, rather than shutting out things, just taking.
Cool. So do you feel that the feedback from the artists is positive when they go and they are a bit remote?
Yes. I mean, of course, that I don't always get the full story. And I mean, of course, there is some artists are not used to being alone in nature. And that is, of course, sometimes a little bit of a stress for them. And they don't know beforehand how they're going to react to it. And it depends also on the season. I mean, on the weather. I mean, whether it's sort of these glorious days, or it's more of cloudy days and cold, and when you want to be more inside, you want to be with people, and the people are not there, so you have to be more on your own. But in that sense, so what is important, I mean, is there's a very big library by now there in actions. I mean, from very technical nature books to general observations to also some more focus on spirituality. So in that sense, these residents are not alone.
What support do you give the artists normally? Do they, if they are there for a week, imagine, they come
2
in
weeks.
and they stay in the studio working, they have other residents with them. Do they have any someone that at the end gives them feedback, or some of the pieces that they do, they are for the residency? How is the
No,
structure of the retreat?
yes. So basically, I mean, they are get selected by a jury, and then when they get the materials for the information materials, how to find it, and the house manual, I always write them that they should forget about their plans when they're there. And it's not about fulfilling plans. I mean, I'm sure there are some who just couldn't get away from anything and couldn't shut their phone off, but that's sort of their problem. And then they finally get some space, time and space to work on something specific. But what's important for me is that they actually just go out and maybe just sit under a tree for an hour and see what happens, what's there. Because you can't have that. Otherwise, it's very difficult to have sort of this kind of infrastructure, especially if it's right next to a house where you can go then afterwards. So in that sense, and then I do always either on Zoom or in person, I do a introduction, especially about the roads, since they are really bad. And so I get a sense who they are also. They get a sense of me. And then I mean, I have to be, on call. I mean, like yesterday, I heard the artist actually had to leave instead of Saturday. I just to leave today, and the roads were supposed to be dry by Saturday, but now they're still bad. And so I had to arrange, make sure that the housekeeper is coming today. She can drive out with him and these kind of techniques. Then afterwards, what's also very important is we do an annual report and print it and go online as well. So where there is then more reflection. And it's clear, I mean, where some artists are new pieces and they're very excited about it and show them, and for some we just show something where what they applied with, and it's not necessarily any finished work. And because also of course a lot are, I mean, about half of them are driving in, the other ones are flying, and often they just work on sketches and not anything they want to present right now.
So can you recall any notable projects that have occurred from artists being the residency, or is most of the time what you just said, just being alone with
No,
nature,
there are
sketches?
certainly very strong pieces. For example, Patricia Watwood, who she's sort of categorized as a figurative painter, and mostly it's oil. and I mean partly portraits, official portraits, and partly sort of more allegorical paintings she sells. But she there did this whole cycle, watercolor cycle, how the day changes, and also guided by Rilke. So that was something really was a total new departure. And then I can think of Margaret Coxwell, who has a long career of large installations and video work, but also some watercolor things. But then she really delved into these beautiful watercolors on, on the land. So there is a lot also in a very different way. Ben Warlund, he's a composer and also high school teacher. And he did a whole series of videos where he interacted in the landscape, and he brought a big drum out there too. So these are all on the website, on the residence, and then you sort of have to scroll down and find when they came and get their websites and also their boards, and you click on their name. And then you can read what their personal experience was.
Have you seen a shift since the beginning of the foundation till now in terms of promoting new projects, artists? Have you seen an evolution of the organization somehow?
Well, I mean, the most is that, of course, it's more recognized. I mean, that just takes a while. Takes a lot of outreach, takes a lot of talking. And of course, word of mouth. I mean, every year we have 11, 12, 13 artists there, and of course they spread the word. And then we had two large exhibitions. One was the Southern Utah Museum of Art, which is part of the college in Cedar City. And that was a big perspective, I guess a perspective of artists who went there, and it was really in all directions we went. I mean, from sound pieces to video to installations to outside projection. And then we had this sort of little modified show then in Concord, Massachusetts. And Concord is also great. European listeners might not know this, but Henry David Thoreau spent there basically like 2 kilometers away from that museum at this place called Warden Pond. And he was there in 1835, something like that. And basically stayed in a hut there for 2 years. He wasn't like all solitary. I mean, he could walk the town, and he did many times. But he was basically recording for the first time how all aspects of nature. And it's very interesting because now we actually don't have any other record of when migratory birds came to the region. And here with Thoreau, who is basically seen as a writer, we have all this data, and it's the migration was 2 to 3 weeks later than it's now. And so that is a very interesting aspect. But it's also, I mean, it's just where you just go there and see what is actually happening there. What is nature? It's not something where I go in and move around and do something with it, but I'm just gonna go there and listen.
So, how do you envision eco art contributing to ecological awareness and sustainability? And how do you see the Montello Foundation contributing to this vision?
Well, I mean, the eco art is basically, I see it as something as subtle as just awareness. And I mean, if you look at advertising, I mean, there's a lot of advertising where you just see the name and it's very subtle, but you're just sort of constantly get the information. And I think that is something which is necessary, that this very subtly gets to the attention. How much it does, I mean, we do what we can do best. I mean, there is of course, you look at other organizations or other things where, for example, there's an organization helping legislator to formulate laws that they actually do something without easily being circumvented by the industry, which is a very important thing. But that's not what I can do.
Okay, you give a space for artists to connect with nature, and I think that's also
Yes.
very, very important to have a
Yes, and
possibility.
we're trying to exhibit this. And it's actually, I mean, there is, of course, we have in the last couple of years, almost 170, 180 applications. So of course I have to send out a lot of rejection letters then. And it's if you have never done this, I mean, as a private person, I mean, for some it's like, yeah, okay, you're not ready. But for others, it's like, really, no, I want to give you that residency, but it's just not possible.
Yeah.
So I have to look at it. Well, what is then actually this whole application process doing? And it is actually something where, I had 180 artists or composers, writers think about their work in that context and write some statement. And I think that is already something. I mean, even if they don't have the residency there, I mean, at least they sort of prepared their work and thought, okay, yeah, I guess this is important that I do this. I'm not just working in a vacuum. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give an artist trying to apply to the retreat? How they can stand out?
Stand out. So our criteria is, what I tell the jury is, first they should look at who's actually doing the best work in their opinion. And the idea behind that is that even if it's not exactly tied to our mission, that place is gonna influence you. I mean, we had sometimes artists who were more abstract, but that place really sort of, okay, suddenly they were painting the wind. I mean, so there is certainly, that is important. And then it's, yes, whether it's tied to our mission. And then thirdly is also how much they are actually getting the word out. Because I mean, there are some artists they're not working that much, but they organize exhibitions in non-profit spaces, and they do basically a lot for the community. So that is also something which is important for us. And in that sense also, I find being alone in that landscape, you focus much more on society at large. You don't focus on that person you're gonna set a dinner with. You're not, I mean, I'm all for community, but I think it's also important that you spend a certain time once a while alone to think more in terms of how is your work actually part of the bigger picture. Then in terms of the application, I think because I mean, if you're a visual artist and you're just sending in images rather than video also, then you have 8 images, and some actually I looked then afterwards at their website, and while you're doing very different things, you're just applying here with one thing because you might be excited at the moment with this one thing, this one series, this one direction. But I think it's more important that you show 2 or 3 directions, because sometimes one just doesn't resonate. with you might be very excited, but it's not exactly there yet. So in that sense, that is, I think, important, because I had really artists, and I met them afterwards, and like, why didn't I take that artist? And it's like, yeah, you applied with something which was, yeah, nobody was interested in. But you're doing great work. But yeah, it's always difficult. I mean, I'm myself as an artist, I apply for things often. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's difficult. But yes, I mean, because most applications are only with like 3 or 4 images, and here you can send 8 images, and so this way I think you can tell a story. On the other hand, 8 different projects is probably not a good idea either, because then you don't get then it's just too difficult, and you don't understand what they're working on, and you also have doubts that these things then all get sort of out there unless you are very established.
So if an artist would want to reach out to you to ask for advice, would that be possible? Would be something you would be open to, or not at all?
Yes. I mean, but I'm raised in Germany. I mean, we say what we think. And it was funny. I had somebody ask me why they weren't taking, and I was sort of very polite, easy or so. And then I get this email back. It's like, first I was really offended, and then I don't know, and this doesn't make sense, and so. And then I said, okay, I'll write you back. And then I explained why it's not working for me. I mean, it was just not. This just didn't have the right edge. And then 2 minutes later, I get this email back. Oh, I'm so sorry. That was meant for my mentor. It wasn't meant for you. And I was like, okay, well, here's my opinion. But she was very clear. I mean, she was like out of art school for like 5 years and living somewhere in the countryside. She is never going to get a feedback. People just saying, "Oh, it's nice," if they want to be nice to her, or it's like, "Oh, that's not my thing." But to get a valuable feedback it's difficult, especially here.
Yeah, I do agree with
This,
that.
yeah.
If you ask for feedback, you have to know that sometimes it's not going to be good, and understand that people have their own opinions, and especially when you are grading something in terms of accepting applications. We are all human, so you have things that we are more connected to, or that resonates better with some type of juries. So it's difficult to just pinpoint how artists can really have an application ready to apply to residencies or galleries. But a good feedback is always important.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, of course, I mean, if you look at a lot of art and all the galleries, I mean, I do certainly have a sense of what a good abstract painting is or what not, but I would not be able to give any really feedback because I think this is not working. It's like, yeah, in photography, I can give you very precise feedback because that's what I'm trained, that's what I do. But and that's why I also have a jury, and the jury is mostly it's other curators or artists, always take one at least who has been there. And but also from the artists, I only ask anybody who is teaching as well. Because of course not every artist can get their head around other people's work.
Yeah.
And I don't expect that from an artist. It's all a teacher certainly knows, okay, well, I guess they're working in a different I can say whether that's anything good or not. And then, of course, the jury, I don't know whether you have done this, but yes, often there are quite different opinions about one artist. I mean, so basically what happens is I usually have 3 or so artists where everybody says, oh, yeah, they're fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. And then I have another 25 where, oh, yeah, they're great. Yes, take them. But I don't have 38 spots. So that's often a very tough decision. And then the other thing is, so the American school, college is off from basically end of May, beginning of June until end of August. And since a lot of artists are teaching, their time is then more competitive. So if you have time earlier or later, then that's just always.
Okay. Okay, Stefan, I think that was my last question to you. Thank you so much for sharing your advice and your insight into the Montello Foundation.
Wonderful. And please explore the website and sign up on the mailing list, and you will get notified for all the future posts.